Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Cropper here. Let's talk about atheism and its supposed crimes. This is a challenge that I hear to atheism more and more, and Chris Hitchens and company have certain ways of addressing it. Christopher Hitchens says the most religious place he's ever been is North Korea, supposedly an atheist state, where you worship the great ruler and the great leader, and the great leader is dead, but he's still the great leader, and he's still the head of the state, and so on. And there are miracles, and the great leader is responsible for everything, and your whole life consists of thanking him all the time. So, a perfect religious state. Perfect. Atheism has very, very little to do with it. They give up the God in the sky for a God on earth. That's not too amazing. Now, they're saying then that when we do this, there's no longer an inhibition, a moral inhibition. And when we give up the God in the sky for a God on earth, mass slaughter happens, like Stalin and Hitler and Mao Zedong and Pol Pot and company. And I say, first of all, are you sure that the Pope wouldn't have used nuclear weapons if he would have had them in the 800s or the 900s or the 1200s or the 1400s, when he had armies all across Europe, when there were rebellions going on against his authority, when the whole frickin' continent of Europe was under a dictatorship of a guy in the Vatican? Are you sure he wouldn't have used anything available? Because they used a lot of bad stuff to do what they did. The religious wars killed half of the population of Germany in the 1500s. So, I'm not certain that they wouldn't have unleashed as much devastation as Stalin and Hitler and Mao Zedong if they would have had the factories and machines and oil, petroleum civilization and all that that was available to the modern dictators. So I'm not convinced of that. No one's made that case. Religious dictatorships went out of style for a while, until those failed so miserably that everybody had to say, well, there's something else. We've got to talk about something else. You notice the left used to say, way back in the 20s and the 30s, the left said, we're going to take over the factories and progress will be for the people. The people will benefit instead of the selfish corporations benefit from progress. And then they discovered that they can't have progress underneath their system. Throughout the 20s and 30s and 40s, as communism showed its total ineptitude, then after that, in the 50s, they said, you know what? Factories and industry and stuff that they can't do under their system is evil. Yeah, it's no good. We don't even like factories. Yeah, how's that? Screw the factories. We think factories should be torn down so the grass and the trees and the mosquitoes can abound. And they just do the switcheroo because evidence showed they couldn't go with that case anymore. Now, they've done the same thing with dictatorships. They've done a switcheroo. They've already tried that kind. They're not trying to justify their dictatorships anymore. The Marxists are not trying to justify their new dictatorship attempts on the basis of any kind of materialism, historical materialism, or secularism. That was a fad, and it's gone. Now, today, by the way, it's Militant Islam. Those people were educated in Paris or London, or some of them in the United States. The leaders of jihad were educated in Paris, London, and the United States. A lot of the leaders of jihad were educated by professors from London, like, for example, Osama bin Laden, who went to college in Riyadh in Saudi Arabia and had a Marxist bastard professor from London, because of British imperialism all over the world. So don't confuse anything. It's Marxism. It's just another shade of Marxism, this modern bullcrap about Islam being suppressed by the Western capitalism. Can't you hear Marxism in that, guys? Come on. Now, So Stalin was an atheist mass murderer, and he killed more people, I believe, because he had it available. Here's what I'm saying. Just give the dictators in the Middle East the power, and they will unleash bloodshed like Stalin never even dreamed of doing. Do you know why Stalin killed everybody in the Ukraine? Do you know why they sealed that off and did that man-made famine? Because the Ukraine was resisting. They were resisting Soviet political intervention. So they sealed the borders and exported food. And they took that food, sold it on the world market, and used the gold and money from that to purchase machinery, to industrialize the country. They did that all across Russia and put the people into the labor camps, but it was really brutal in the Ukraine. He maybe had a vendetta. I think that's where he was from, right? Stalin, from the Ukraine. Because he had no moral compunction, is that right? Now, what I'm saying is when people have God on their side, they'll get busy. They'll get real busy. You just watch Islam. And if you don't think the Pope would have done it, how did they kill half of the people in Germany? In all those religious wars for 100 frickin' years, Pope after Pope after Pope had no hesitation, but that they had to regain power over lost territory, or keep the hegemony, keep the hegemonic power that they had. There's no question that the religious people are ready to shed blood. And listen to some Iranian propaganda someday, and you'll hear it. Go listen to it right now. There's videos on YouTube of Ahmadinejad saying about burning in the all-cleansing fire and shit. Mass murderers, atheists, my butt. Mass murderer is a mass murderer, and I don't care what flag he wears on him. He doesn't respect reason or individual rights. Communism, Ayn Rand said it. It took me a long time to get to where I understood it. She said communism is not the new. It's not the advanced. It's not the modern. She said communism is a throwback to the ancient, primitive system of the rule of the savage. She was right. She was right. It can't be anything else. It's just people running around with clubs hitting other people. That's communism. It's nothing more than that. Justifications, all the fancy theories from Western universities that get a country to descend into communism. All those fancy theories to the contrary notwithstanding, communism is nothing but people hitting other people over the head with sometimes very heavy clubs. So it's no different from any secular or pagan or monotheistic or polytheistic dictatorship in history. Now that all that's on the table, look at this fact. Look at this fact. If it is the case that there is not a God, okay? Let's just assume that for a minute. There's no God. That all there is this thin film of life that happens to have evolved on the surface of this little teeny pebble spinning through space. Very thin little film of life. Accidentally evolved in the company of several other planets that have no life at all on them that we've been able to find. Thin little film of accidental covering of life that could be snuffed out like that. It's about to snuff itself out, maybe, you know. This thin little film of life exists on this rotating ball in space. And there are people on that ball that try to get power over other people. Little creatures on that ball try to get power over others. And some of them talk about a big guy who created everything, and they say, he's talking in my ear. And they call themselves the Pope or whatever. And then they get power. And they are motivated to do this and that and the other in the name of their religion, spread it, or maybe they give away socks at Christmas to keep the kids from being cold, or whatever they do in the name of their religion. But they do it there on earth in a temporal reality, and there's not a God. Now, whatever the atheists do, whatever the Pope does, whatever anybody does, as atrocious as it may be, is just an act of reality right there in reality. So you can't say the stuff that he did is less atrocious because he believes in God. He's motivated by something for it. That one king of Spain said he would rule over a desert. rather than have heathens in his nation.